I think we start with a duel.
What?
Just
Alex, go ahead.
So I'm Alex. So I'm a first year. I went to UC Berkeley for undergrad, and I'm originally from Cerritos, the LA area. What else constitutes background?
Maybe a little bit about what you did as an undergrad.
Oh, okay.
What your interests are.
So in undergrad, I majored in MCB, molecular cell biology, and then I did not do that much research in undergrad. I mostly did clinical work. So I volunteered at a free clinic called Berkeley Free Clinic for a number of years.
I'm Abdul. I graduated from UC Santa Cruz, 2011. I was an RA, a residential advisor, not a research assistant, for 3 years there. That was a lot of fun. I didn't do any research either. I did a lot of clinical stuff. I started a free clinic down in Santa Cruz, a care project. So that's still running actually. Yeah, then I did some research at Davis before I applied to here. And yeah, I have interests. Medicine. I like to be active.
Okay.
Stuff,
So I'm Tina. I was an undergrad right here, like you guys. And then I took a year off and came here for med school. I'm also a first year, like these three. And as an undergrad, I was really involved in leadership activities. So I was involved in a lot of organizations. I had a lot of positions and roles. Unlike them, I did do a lot of research. I did research all 3 years of my undergrad.
I'm Herschel. I'm a third year, which feels good. I went to UCLA as a neuroscience major. I didn't do a lot of like clubs or anything. I don't think I had a single like leadership role when I was in like LA. But I did tons of research. I had multiple labs, and I did stroke team, so I did clinical stroke research and all that stuff too. I took 2 years off to do Teach for America. So I was teaching first grade in Nashville. It was awesome. I recommend taking time off. I think it's the greatest thing, and I think it's a very well adjusted. We'll talk about that later. 2011, I like that. Yeah, then I applied to med schools. I liked the feeling I got when I came here for second look, so that's where I ended up coming.
Okay, so what is like medical school, like the day-to-day for you guys? Like,
it's not bad. It's nice. Once you get into med school, life is like pretty chill. You go to class in the morning, or you don't go to class in the morning, you read. It's depending on your stop. I know, like, I'm a big book person, so I usually get the textbook and I read through the chapters. I know some people just go to lecture and they just do their thing. And in the afternoons, if you don't have like an elective, or if you don't have a clerkship where you like go into a community doctor and work with them, then it's how you want to do it. So I like to study for a few hours every day, 3 or 4 hours, and then I have my evenings to myself, where you can have whatever activity, and I do a little bit every day. Some people like to do just like an hour every day, and then they cram on the weekends, but I think it sounds miserable. But it's good. It's if you treat it like a job, it's very nice. You start at 8, you end at 5, you take the evenings to do whatever you need to, go out with friends, make dinner, work out. That's how I take it.
So UCSD is really cool because we have come on in. Because we have a really nice schedule. Usually we're done by 12, so we only have class from 8 to 12. And then like Herschel said, we can take electives in the afternoon, and some days we have extra classes and activities that we do. But that's very unique to UCSD, at least when I interviewed at other schools. I didn't see this schedule anywhere. Maybe you guys did.
There are quite a few schools. Ones that are going through like clinical focus tend to have a very similar schedule to ours. I know USC has a similar schedule. They're starting it. Michigan has a very similar schedule. Vanderbilt. So actually, a lot of places I interviewed at did have it. I definitely recommend going to a clinically focused school, like an 8 to 12 kind of thing, and oh my god, do a pass-fail.
Pass-fail,
First
for
2
sure.
years, like pass-fail.
First 2 years.
At UCSD, right? Okay.
Most schools now.
Technically, all 4 years pass-fail, but when you get in your 3rd and 4th year, it's honors and then high honors. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You know, you have more to say.
No. If you guys want to add anything, feel free. Not, we'll ask other questions.
Yeah. I think it's also an adjustment period. I mean, we're all first year, so we're, I think, becoming more like Herschel, like trying to take more time for ourselves. I'm very bad at that. Like, I'll study until 8, 9, and I'll give up an hour at night. And it's just hard for me to get over the fact that, like, passing, and you need to pass, and like you know the material, and that's fine. So I think it is a learning process. In the beginning, you might be really hard pressed to be willing to be like, all right, I'm done at 5. But like the more and more you do it, the more you realize like you'll have more free time, and you'll do better in your exams and stuff because you're giving yourself more breathing room. You're not just sitting in a library all day. So
Yeah. Your scores get better. I mean, you start studying less, but all of a sudden your scores go up.
Yeah, you definitely become more efficient studying. You also I feel like as you get more confident and you figure out what things work for you, you feel less compelled to attend like every little thing.
Yeah.
Like after the longest time, I didn't want to break my lecture streak. Then I realized like in certain blocks, this lecture just weren't working for me. I didn't do it, didn't even look at their slides, just like read first aid, and I still passed the block. So you figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever like find yourself like reconsidering why you chose medicine, and then like how do you guys deal with that?
yes, it's on. I think
A lot of people do.
if you don't, it's almost like it's a bad thing to not have those moments of doubt, because they kind of test you why you would. I mean, and I think one thing that helps me is the clerkship that he was talking about, where you go shadow a physician somewhere in the area, and it's nice to have someone that you're close with who's working. And my preceptor is actually in med peds, so she does like internal medicine and she works in pediatrics, and she's relatively young, so she's still kind of close to what I've experienced or what I've experienced. So when I'm feeling like through head of block mind brain behavior, and I was really like in the pits, I was like, maybe I should take leave of absence, maybe I should quit for a while, I don't know, I can't do this. I reached out to her, and she was very much like, take the time you need off from coming to work here, like take care of yourself. And I ended up seeing like the CAPS, the Counseling and Psychological Services, Dr. Ramatar. He comes actually here and talks to med students. But yeah, you question it because all you're doing right now is just studying tests. Studying tests. It's like a test every 2 weeks, and sometimes you don't see how what you're learning is going to help save a patient's life, or even just help you communicate with a patient. So yeah, you question it, but you talk to your friends. We're all going through it. You know, there's never a day where someone's not like, I'm feeling great. Why are you so upset? No, everyone feels it, and I think that helps, is to be vocal about what you're feeling, because you'll have people that will help you.
It's not necessarily just school, too.
Yeah.
You know? Like, for school, it was opposite. School was my favorite part. I was like, I felt really great about school, but I wasn't feeling great about, like, stuff outside, about necessarily having enough time to go see friends, enough time to go do what I wanted to do, being happy. And, like, I did the same thing with the cats. I think he went for school.
Halfway through the quarter, there's going to be only half of you that will raise your hand for this question. By the end of the semester, or by the end of this class, even less. And so it's just like keeps dwindling down, right? And the number of people that are still pre-med goes down and down and down. For me personally, I always wanted to go. And then right when I got to the point where I was going to take my MCAT, I think that was the part where I really questioned it. I was like, my whole life I worked so hard for this, but I don't know if I'm good enough. That was my problem. I didn't know if I would actually get in. And so that's why I questioned med school. I was like, what if I can't keep up? What if I'm not good enough?
To make you feel better, I never wanted to be a doctor until like I started doing teaching, and I realized just like how much I missed the hospital, how much I missed doing research. I was just kind of did stuff in college because I wanted to, and coming to that realization on your own that this is something that you actually want to do, like Tina taking the test and being like, oh, I am good enough. Everybody here has that one moment where like, man, is this a giant mistake? I don't want to drop out of school. I don't want to do that kind of stuff. And that's okay to have those kind of feelings. And if everybody around you is like, I'm going to be a doctor, and you're not like, well, maybe I'll be a doctor, like, that's okay. You know, you just need to come to that one, like, make or break point where you need to commit or you don't commit, and you have to be completely okay with your decision. Now that I'm here, like, I love it. Every single day is so fun. Every time I'm working, sometimes like I can see the hospital from my house. When I'm studying for STEP, it was the worst thing in the world, but I'd go to the roof and I'd go like, I'm just doing it for the hospital. Like, I'm doing it a couple weeks, I'm going to be right there. So if you don't want to right now, or if you're not like 100% sure, it's okay. You know, don't feel like everybody around you needs to like push you into it.
Yeah.
Just when it comes down to that point where you got to commit one way or another. Just make sure that's the decision you want to do. Okay.
I don't think you can really know until you're already here.
Yeah.
Take some time off,
I
seriously.
think
It's not the worst
you
thing in
have
the world.
to like think about it, see what works best for you, see if you actually like what a doctor does, and see what other health professionals do too. Because you might find that you're interested in other things even more than becoming a physician.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a big part of it too. It's not just the academics, but like we're becoming professionals, but we're not doing it in a bubble. We're also part of an industry, and so one of the things that made me question whether I wanted to be a doctor, like I also wanted to be a doctor when I was a kid, because my like doctor when I was a kid was just a total baller. So I thought like, wow, this guy's so cool. Like I was super sick as a kid, and he made me feel like really safe. But then when I started working more in clinical settings, learning more about public health and the kind of problems that we have as a profession, and like kind of some of the ways that like a lot of the things we do are evidence-based, we have certain things, it's like, yeah, I had to really think about like, do I really want to enter this field? And ultimately I decided that like, well, these are all problems that I want to help fix in my lifetime, and I decided that that was a thing that I wanted to do. And so yeah, it's also that. It's like lifestyle, but also like, what do you want your job to mean in your life?
For sure.
And what do you-
Audiologist, PT, OT, they're all really great fields.
I think for me as a woman too, I always wondered like I want to have a family, I want to have kids, and medicine is such a long road. Like sometimes we don't really talk about that, but what was really nice is once I got here, like there were actually a couple talks that we had where female physicians came and they like specifically talked to us about that. It was like a dinner talk, and that was like that was my absolute favorite talk that I've been to this year, because it was great to see their perspective on it and to just learn that it's okay, like all these things will work out. They will work themselves out. Like you shouldn't just say no because you want to have a family and kids. You can still have those things and be a doctor.
Do you think women are restricted more in the regard that, like, we can't choose some of the specialties because of that? Like, neurosurgery, for example, like, all the neurosurgeons that I know, they're all males, you know? And it's, like, that's kind of discouraging, I guess. And, like, I don't know if it was in FIDE, but there was a doctor that came and talked to us, and she was a woman, and she's like, you have to see all your, like, friends getting married and having children, and you're just, like, studying, like, you know, at the hospital 24/7, like, you know, just stuff like that, and I found that really discouraging. But, I mean, from what you just said, I feel like it depends on the person, you know?
Yeah, some people don't want to have kids and a family, so they don't even think about those things. But some people do. And neurosurgery is a longer residency. It's a 7-year residency. That means that you can totally have kids and have a family during that time, but it's not as easy as if you had already finished your residency and you're out in the work world. So about those specialties, like you said, neurosurgery, but a lot of other surgeries, specialty fields don't have as many women in them because they're more demanding residencies. They could be longer, but they also really like to have women applicants. Like my uncle's an ENT and he works at a university, and he says that whenever they get female applicants, they definitely look at those applications and try to prioritize them because they don't get as many female applicants. So if you're interested in them, you can get into them. You can get accepted. And they do work with you. Like there's new laws, so you can still have your kids, you can have some time off. Like
And it
there's
seems
a
like
lot of change.
The culture has changed too. Like from the doctors that we've talked to, who were female doctors who were pregnant or getting married during the residencies, they said that a lot of the times their attendings were a lot more accommodating than they expected about the fact that they were pregnant, and they just like had to sit down every so often, or had to go like throw up or something. Whereas back in the day, it wasn't like that.
Look up a couple like surgeons or a couple like female surgeons around UCSD, and if you want to reach out to them, they're very, very open. I worked with Dr. Ahmed. She was an ortho surgeon. And I don't know if you know anything about ortho, but it's like it's got this reputation of being like super pro-y. And Dr. Ahmed is like the biggest badass in the world. She's a terrifying woman. But like the first time I went into her, like, you know, worked with her, she was like, talking about her new protein regime, and she's like a sweetheart with the patients. But just like when she's in that OR, she's all business. And like if you want to like tell her like, oh, women can't be an ortho surgeon, you're like, yeah, Dr. Ahmed. So there are a lot of very, very strong women that are living like, you know, she's married, she has like a family, and so it is possible, but it is a lot harder. Like, you know, I do not envy it. It's definitely like a lot of things that you have to consider that, you know, me and these two don't have to worry about.
Yeah, Dr. Tanaka is also a surgeon who's really open to students, and she's fantastic. She's a general surgeon, and she has 2 kids, I believe, and she was talking to me earlier about the fact that when she was going through residency, it was really hard, like being pregnant, because the male attendings didn't care and they would work you even harder. But she's like, now it's totally not like that. There's rules, like it's so much better. It's so much more doable now than it was even when she was going through residency. So there's a lot of change.
Dr. Schnapp is our Panza faculty advisor too. She's cool.
Really?
Yeah.
She's so nice.
It's great.
She's great. Her husband's a pediatrician. And she's like, when I went through residency, I didn't get to see my kids. And so now there's like a lot of more regulation, so it's great for us.
That's encouraging. Thank you.
What do you guys think the atmosphere is like here at the med school? Like, is it really competitive, or what are your interactions with like the other medical students? Like?
Super relaxed. This is one of the more relaxed schools.
Okay.
When I was interviewing, I mean, that's the reason I picked it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are, you know, tons of great schools around here. But this one just had a really, really good vibe. And I got into a couple schools that had, like, a little higher ranks than this, but just being on campus here, and, you know, when I came to interview, they were playing volleyball on the lawn. Like, when I came for second look, we had, like, a huge, like, party, and my flip cup partner was, like, a second year that was just, like, the coolest guy in the world. So, at least that's why I picked it. And I think this is a very, very relaxed med school, a very, very supportive environment. And just talking to other friends that are in other med schools, like, they gossip about each other. They have, like, little cliques, they have little things. And, yeah, in this school, you know, you're not best friends with every single person in your class. But I've not heard one single person talk badly about anybody else. And I think in a group of 120, that's amazing. Because we have floors in college where you talk smack about that dude, even though there's only 30 of you. I don't know about you guys. At least my class in the year probably is pretty good.
Yeah, I can't really add more. I mean, it's great. People here are great. Yeah. And you sometimes wonder what it would be like if you didn't have such a great and close-knit group of people to support you. Because I think a lot of the ability to make it through these tough times is by the people you're surrounded with. So like I have friends at other schools that are just, you know, awful. People are really cutthroat, people are mean, people aren't there to help you. Here, you know, if you need someone's help, we have a Facebook page, like you put up a question up there, you need help, like people just respond immediately, people are quick to help. So I think that emphasizes the culture here is very, like, you need a hand, there's like 120 plus hands, and like the second years have always been so amazing and so great to us. So it's like, it's kind of sad because when you come in as a first year, they're kind of like in the beginning stages of their big boards, step 1 exam, and then by the time we're kind of moving into our into our MS2 kind of aura, if you will, they're kind of on there. He's on his way out of step as a third year, so you kind of lose that contact a little bit. So you have to try harder to hold on to these people who helped you as a first year, and then the roles reverse eventually. So,
but they stay. I mean, I know I hit up my big, who was an MS2, and I was like getting a little nervous about my step score, and he was like, "Yo, meet me here. We're gonna have a pizza, we'll have a beer, chill." Like it's very supportive, and even if you just have like emotional support too. You know, I know people like call you up and like, yo, I just need to go, I need a break right now, and you're like, cool, I'm down. Or you hit somebody up and they're like, yo, I'll be there in 20, we'll chill tonight, everything will be good. So it's a very, very supportive environment here.
So we specifically get paired to a second year.
Oh, okay.
As first years.
That makes sense. I should explain that.
Yeah, so that's what you're talking about. We get like a big sibling.
yeah.
So like Herschel was a big to some of, or I don't know if you had 1 or 2 of us.
Omar, and then Dan is my unofficial. Yeah,
okay.
Dan's my unofficial Will.
Cool. Yeah, so it was nice because they try to pair you with someone who's similar to you in some ways, like based on your application. So I got paired with another girl who's Persian like me, so it's kind of nice. No, I got Hedia.
Yeah.
But like you and Nassim both took me on
Yeah, when I
too.
see you, Tina, all I see is Hedia.
I got I got 3 bigs because of that.
And if you don't like, you're big necessarily, there's still like 100 other people.
Yeah, and they'll adopt you.
Pick
It's
somebody
okay.
like, yeah.
Oh yeah, I have like 50 bigs.
Yeah.
So it's nice. There's a lot of support, and even amongst your classmates, you have a lot of support. Like, no one's there to hurt you academically. Like, it's all pass-fail. Your grade does not depend on anyone else's, unlike undergrad. It's definitely a lot more close-knit. Like, you guys don't know your classmates, right? You go into class, and there's like 300 people, and you never sit next to the same person again unless you were already friends. Versus here, you know everyone.
On the other hand, if you do see random people, make friends with them in your undergrad. You never know when you're going to see them like 3 years later. It's a good skill. If there's anything I can recommend to do as an undergrad, I mean, you're already going to study hard. You're already going to work to get A's. Like, that's obvious. Work on your people skills. Work on just talking to strangers. It's the best thing you can do, because then interviews become a lot easier. When you're in patient interactions, it becomes a lot easier. And it's hard. It's hard and it's terrifying. You see somebody you don't know, and you're just like, oh, I like that book they was reading, or oh, I know that class, I'm going to take it. It's a really good skill to foster. And go do things that you're passionate about. If you don't want to be the president of some random, little thing, don't do it. They can tell as soon as your interview happens. They can tell. If you're not super passionate about research, I'd probably do research. I think it's a good thing to do. It's a good thing to have in your resume. But pursue activities that really mean a lot to you, and those are the ones that are going to come out on your application, because you're going to write a ton about it on your description, and they're going to ask you about it. I did 4 separate research projects in undergrad. I worked 4 years in labs, hospitals, whatever. Not one question in my interview. They only wanted to hear about Teach for America, because it was the only thing that I talked about in the application. It was the thing I was most passionate about. And what they're seeing in those interviews and those applications isn't necessarily okay, this person does a bunch of things. They're saying how does this person follow through? When this person commits, how much do they commit? Are they just doing it because they feel they need to? Or is this somebody that goes above and beyond? Is this somebody that is going to make us look great and is going to represent our school and be amazing? Or is this somebody who's just going to check the boxes and they'll be decent, but they, at the end of the day, we don't really want to work with them? If that helps. Yeah. It's okay. If you love volleyball, play volleyball. If you want to work with kids, go teach, go work with kids. Don't feel because some guy in your lab is trying to write a research paper that you have to. I didn't publish a paper and everything worked out. Life was fine.
Yeah, I spent 3 years doing research and never once got a paper out of it or publication, but it'll be okay. Yeah. I presented posters instead, and that was cool. I did an honors thesis my senior year. So there's lots of other things you can do.
Yeah. I was going to piggyback on that. Do what you love. I ended up doing research in my time off because it wasn't available. I was I want to see if I like research. It's an important thing to know, because you don't want to get caught doing research maybe in med school and you're wow, I hate this, I don't like it, and it's kind of hard to get out of it. So I did it kind of when there was low, not low stress, but low backlash. Because I wouldn't do it forever, because they knew that I was only going to be there for a while. But I ended up getting published, but that was after I got into med school, and the one place I got asked about it, she tore me apart. It was actually at Irvine. I don't even know what happened. I talked to my PI, and it's everything she said was wrong. I'm I know, why was I being attacked? But it's another story. But I'm a big scuba diver. I used to be. I don't have much time to do it now because it's a whole day ordeal to scuba dive. But I became a dive master, and that became something they asked me way more about. It's why do you dive scuba diving? And I almost became an instructor for scuba diving, and that's why I like to teach. So things that you love to do those, because those are the things that they want to know about you as a person. I put guitar in my music as a hobby in the application section. They want to know, well, what do you like about music so much? Well, I like that I'm really bad at it, so I keep working hard to get better. You did research, great, but I never got asked about it besides that one incident. They want to make sure you're a person that has things outside of academia too. and that you will follow things that you love to do and be committed to them. You know, I've been playing guitar for some 10 years, with scuba diving since college. You know, they want to see that you stuck with something for the long haul too. That's also important.
If you've been traveling, make sure you got a cool travel story too. Don't put traveling, you're like, I went to St. Louis. That was pretty cool.
One thing I really enjoyed doing as an undergrad here was being a TA. And so that's something you guys should consider if you enjoy teaching or you do really well in a class and you want to have that opportunity. And so I think that really showed, because I wrote about it in my papers, but I also got a letter of recommendation out of it. And the professor will talk about, like, oh, students came up to you and came up to her and said that you were a great TA and you really helped clarify this and that. And they'll show, because now I have a letter of rec to back up the fact that I really enjoyed being a TA. So
for letters of rec too, if you don't get one in your first 2 years, it's not the end of the world. You get, I got mine all from either research people that I worked with and professors that I took third or fourth year, because they're smaller classes. They're classes that you're more passionate about. You know, if you really love chemistry, obviously go talk to that professor. But if there's like a specific thing, I like the MRIs, and that professor happens to be a cool guy, and we have to get along. So I asked him, you just email them, be like, hey, can we grab coffee? Most professors would love to, because students never want to do anything with them. So, like, email them, be like, hey, can we grab a coffee? Can we, like, go do something? I know UCSD has a program where they'll buy you a coffee, too, if you go with the professor.
or dine with a professor.
Dine, yeah.
Whole lunch.
So just do stuff like that. Professors love free things, too. It's a great way to know them. Do it, like, 2-3 times, and then after you finish taking a class, you know, follow up with them. Maybe, like, once a quarter. Send them an email saying, hey, I'm still alive. You're still alive? Cool. And this is especially important if you decide to take time off. Okay? I 100% recommend taking time off. I know I would have been a jackass if I came in straight out of college. I would have been cocky. I would have been like, you know, I'm going to win at all costs. I'm going to do all that kind of stuff. And, you know, not that if you come straight out of college, you're not good at med school. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But you see the stress in their eyes when kids come straight through. You know, because they still have that undergrad mentality a lot of times. It takes them a little bit longer for them to adjust. When I think a lot of people that work, this isn't true for everybody, I'm not trying to say this, is that people that work for a while, like even like a year or so, have an easier time adjusting to the kind of like, this is when I do school, this is when I take time for myself, and the compartmentalizing. And it's easier to kind of adjust. So, you know, for what took me like a month or two to get like my adjustment down, you know, could take like a little longer for some other people, and it all depends. I mean, it's just how much you work at it. But work with professors, and if you take time off, make sure to send them emails every once in a while so they remember you. And if you're afraid they will say no, no professor ever says no for a recommendation letter if they like you. Okay? And if they say yes, they'll write you a good letter.
So some people do say no.
No.
Just say no.
Some people
Or
do
they say no
no.
in a very different way.
Yeah.
So I needed one more letter of recommendation, and I was stuck, so I didn't have anyone in mind, so I went to a professor I had, and she told me that she was willing to write me a letter of recommendation, but I should use her more as a last resort. So what does that tell me? That tells me that it's not going to be a strong letter.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like saying no, right? That's saying you're going to get a very like generic letter of rec from me. I'm willing to do it, but it won't be a good one. You have to be okay with that. And you don't really want those if you can avoid them. I always ask my letter writers, are you willing to write me a strong letter of recommendation? Because they will tell you the truth. They'll tell you, yes, I will write you a strong letter, or no, I'm unable to.
Well, thanks for doing that.
They'll be really honest.
Non-science professors too are awesome because they love brackets. Like, oh, I get to write a med school letter. That's like new to them. So I think I had like a Korean cinema professor write one. They're always fun too. And then people ask you about those letters too. Like, when the hell did you take this class? And you're just like, oh, there's something else to talk about.
Yeah. I think one thing I wanted to comment on that is because the fear is like, well, to build a good relationship with a professor, yeah, you know, do well in the class if you can. Hopefully, you should do well in all the classes, but like
Doing well in their class helps.
office hours is a huge thing. Like I went to a lot of office hours, not because I was like trying to suck up, because like one, I needed help with the material, but two, it's almost like some of the only real face-to-face time you get with them. And sometimes students will be there, sometimes it just people don't really utilize office hours sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So like one of the best feelings is when you get to know a professor really well, that before you even finish asking if they'll write you a letter, they say yes, like immediately. Because they've seen you in office hours, they know how hard you work, they know that you're a good student and you're trying your best. They want to help you. So the thing is, use office hours, use any time you can to get FaceTime professors, and like just be genuine about why you're there. Like try to enjoy the material. I mean, some classes are tough, but try to enjoy the material for the sake of it. It's a stepping stone to get you to other places. And I still email professors who wrote me letters of rec and like telling them how I'm doing in med school. Like I'm hopefully going to be home in Santa Cruz for so and so. Like I want to see them because they're not just like people who got me here. They're like my friends because I built that relationship through undergrad. So don't use them as like this chess piece. Like they're people too, and like they can be really really great people too, even after they grab their letters.
Most professors are pretty cool people. They're just regular people.
Yeah, they're just brilliant. They're really
They're
cool.
different outside of class too.
Yeah.
I have a question. Going back to talking about hobbies and passions, a lot of people recommend, like, when you're choosing your major for undergrad, it's like choose something that you like, obviously.
Yeah.
But where do you draw the line between, like, your passion for medicine and your passion for your hobbies?
Dude, you don't. I think the best thing a pediatrician told me last year when I was working with them, there's a lot of people, like, even in med school, they're just like, I want to do medicine all the time. And, like, if you don't feel that way, it's very intimidating because you're just like, oh my God, it's, I need to work harder. I'm not doing my part. And he's just like, look, you can make medicine your whole life, or you can make it part of your life. And that's completely fine. You can love medicine and you can love philosophy. You can love medicine and you can love English. Like, you don't have to choose one or the other. So if you want to major in English, major in English. There are multiple, like English majors, history majors, philosophy majors inside our class. Inside my class, at least. I'm sure yours too. And it's a little bit harder because you have to take the science courses in addition to those other ones. But you got to do you. You can't do neuroscience if you hate neuroscience. You can't do MCDV if you just can't stand looking through the microscope. Like, it's the worst feeling in the world. But on the other hand, like, if you're picking an English major or history major because you think it might be easier and you might have a better GPA for it, that's completely wrong. You're not going to put in the work and you're not passionate about it. And, like, if you do love a bio major, like, go do it. That's fine. I love neuroscience, and that's why I did it. It was the best decision, and going to class and studying the material wasn't ever a burden. And you should never feel that studying is like a burden on you. It can suck, and you can hate it, but it's never like something where you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to do this to get to this next point. So yeah, take your major, man. Like, really, there's so many paths into it. Just if you do pick a major that's not like a science major, go talk to a counselor to make sure that you're taking the necessary classes so that when you finish up, you're not like, oh my God, it turns out I forgot to take 3 classes I need. Because that's very, very easy to do. If you guys have anything.
No, you gave me that advice at the beginning of the year in terms of you can choose to have medicine be your whole life or just be part of your life. And I thought that was really cool. So I just like listening to that.
Yeah, I love that. That was my favorite thing from last year. And that guy helped me out so much. Like, medicine completely changed for me after that. So much better.
So do you also keep up with your hobbies?
Yeah, I do. I got through 26 novels last year. And that was my goal. It's just like to keep reading. And I exercise a couple times a week. Like, I see friends, and it's nice. There are times when you can't, obviously, and it does suck those weekends where your buddy's like, we're going camping, or like, dude, we're going to this, like, we're going Bonnaroo this weekend. And you're just like, I hate to have a test Monday, I can't do it. And you do have to say no. I mean, it's not, I'm not trying to pretend that you get to do whatever you want all day, not at the beach every day. but you do get to, at least I do, but it took a long time. And I'm sure these guys, I've seen them grow up over the last year, and I've seen how much more relaxed they become, and I'm sure you guys have started doing more fun stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. I feel like it took me a few months to adjust to med school life. It took me 3 blocks after our cardio, or was it Palm. After that, I think I adjusted back to normal life. Like, I don't need to study every single day all the time. Like, I can sleep at night and it'll be okay. Like, not that I was staying up late, but my life at first revolved around studying. But now I totally involve all the things I like to do into my life.
And even the periods when you are studying, we live in a kind of privileged age of medical schools because we don't have to carry around like 17 giant hardcover books. Everything's online. Even all of the journals and stuff you want to look at, you can just do a proxy and do it from a cafe. And so, like, even if I have a lot to study, if I want to at least remember what it's like to interact with the person, I'll go and hang out with my friend Stravia, and we'll go study at a cafe in like North Park because I can't be in La Jolla for that long, or else I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah,
I'm unfortunately on the opposite trajectory. Like the first year, I was pretty like chill, and like I studied hard, but I also like made more time for, like, I went surfing more often. And as of late, I have a lot of my hobbies have unfortunately gone by the wayside. I picked up other hobbies, which is funny, but I'm trying to get back into the swing of living a life outside of medical school. So it's just interesting how it's inverse for me, and I'm trying to figure out what happened. Whereas a lot of my classmates are like now need more time for themselves and more balanced, where I was balanced earlier. Nothing's really changed, you know, like all the material is it's still tough material, but the reverse has happened where now I spend more time studying. But that's also kind of, in the very beginning, I talked about trying to give more time to myself, you know, so that is, I don't really know why that happened, but yeah, it is usually it's the opposite when I'd be stressed out in the beginning, but it could be just because I felt, I knew it was working, and then so I did it more. Like what I was doing was working, so let me do it more, and then like, oh, I guess I'm not giving myself time. But that is what you'll see, is you'll be struggle in the beginning, and then you'll just be like less time stuck in the library and more time in the person.
It takes work though. It takes a lot of work, and when you first start trying to balance it, you get kind of stressed out because you're out and you're like, I should be working, or like I should be doing this, and like it's tough. And if it takes you a little longer to adjust, then that's okay. You know, if it takes you 3 blocks, fine. If it takes you 5 blocks, fine. If it takes you 1 block, power to you. That's awesome. But yeah.
And everyone's different. Like some people are very relaxed about med school, like Herschel. Some people are on the opposite spectrum, always stressed about med school.
Not always.
No.
And then you make friends with apathetic people, and it balances them out. And the nice thing too, like Herschel was saying, since everyone is like good friends with each other, and people are always like willing to talk to each other, like even if you feel like I know for me, I was really overwhelmed the first couple blocks of med school, and so I had a hard time like being social because I couldn't like let myself take that time, and also I just like couldn't open up. But then like even like halfway through the year, I started becoming a really good friend with people who like I didn't know yet. So it's not like, oh, if I didn't meet all these people during O week or second look, like I'm screwed for the rest of med school. Like no, you make friends throughout the whole time.
Yeah.
That's nice. That social support is really valuable.
And there's the CAPS program too, so if you don't want to talk to people that you know, you talk to strangers. It's nice. So, yeah. I talked to this like sports psychologist lady, and it was awesome. It was like, oh cool, this lady gets it. But it's like a stranger, so you know, everyone's got their own things that they like need to like get out. If you guys are stressed right now as undergrads too, man, CAPS is bomb. I would have never done it undergrad. Like I was like, no, I don't need it, I don't need that. And now I'm like, oh, I should have done it years ago. It's just like you go in, it's an hour, and you just feel so much better afterwards. I'm a big believer in the CAPS program now. Yeah.
Could you just like walk me through like your typical day, like when you wake up and you go to school?
Oh yeah.
We answered oh, you did? Oh,
that's cool. I mean, it's 8 to 12 is when we go to class.
Right.
Okay. And then the afternoons we either get, we either have our clerkship where we go into like a community doctor and we work with a doctor for the afternoon. It's once every other week. Or we have like an elective, or it's our free time. So it's 8 to 12 is like mandatory class every day. And then most afternoons, not every afternoon, but most afternoons you get an option of either doing an elective or working in a clinic or just kind of choosing what you want to do. And some people, you know, nap all afternoon and that's what they do, and then study at night. Some people study in the afternoon, take the evenings off. And depending on what week or what you have going on, it's a little busier, a little bit easier.
And class is optional for the most part.
Yeah.
Lectures you don't have to go to, they're video podcasted.
Technically, you're supposed to go to
Technically,
Technically, but like half the class, maybe even more than half, you never see in lecture.
I didn't go 80% of lectures last year.
And we have some mandatory classes, like our small classes will be in these rooms that you see around here, and those are mandatory. But big lecture hall,
Oh,
it's more independent initiative to go.
But I think the biggest thing that you can do is just learning how to commit to like professional duties. You know, if there's like a small group that you have to go to, like practice being there 5 minutes early, because that's gonna it makes a huge difference when you're in med school. If you show up dressed, like knowing how to dress yourself, how to just like dress professionally, which some people have a real tough time with, and show up to like a clinic 5 minutes early, those doctors all of a sudden treat you so much different than if you show up 5 minutes late. Yeah. You're coming in for like a small group. When you come in like 5 minutes early and you sit down and you're prepared to go at 10 o'clock and you see people walk in 10 minutes, even like classmates and stuff, like people treat you different and you get more out of it and you keep that discipline for yourself too. Okay. Like learning how to be on time, I think is the biggest skill you can, because people, you figure like 25-year-olds would be able to make it to a 10 o'clock class on time, but it's really hard, you know, and there's days you don't want to do it. So
it's actually like I hate when people are late to things.
It
bugs me like no end, and I think our class unfortunately has the medical school like time syndrome. Like be there at 12 and it's like we start at like 12:15. I'm like, God. What?
And then
so
people complain when you like go over the time for the like end of the class. Like, oh, but it was we're just here 15 minutes earlier.
I think it's a huge thing, professionalism, and like in life, like just be early. It's always good to be in it, like you said. Just you're prepared, you're ready to go. I don't know. I'm so glad you brought that up because it's such a sticking point for me. I've always been like being 5 minutes early is like being on time for me. So always trying to be earlier if possible. But now I'll stop talking about that. I think it's just so, and like even as undergrads. Like,
dude, professionals is the biggest thing. Especially with undergrads, no one expects anything out of you because they're just like, oh, they're 18 or whatever. You show up and you're professional, everyone's super impressed. And if you're like young and like well put together, people let you do anything. Like you can go anywhere. Like if you walk around the hospital, no one says anything. Like people are like, oh, cool, yeah, this guy can do whatever he wants. She can do whatever she wants. Like it opens up worlds for you. Professionalism is huge, and it's one of those unspoken things where everyone just kind of expects it, but no one actually knows what to do. So practice being professional, and hopefully you don't become those people that show up late for everything. I have a huge thing about time and sticklerity. It's my biggest pet peeve about med school. It's my only complaint.
This is a little bit more of a generic question, but what's the biggest piece of advice you wish you knew, like going into the application process?
It's going to be okay. That's the biggest advice I can give.
That's good.
Yeah. I had to learn it as I went. So you can find someone who knows what they're doing. They can kind of maybe outline for you, like, here's what you should do. Like, that would be nice. The timeline would have been nice. Because I was the first in my family, I didn't know anyone who was a doctor. And the ones I did know were, like, been doctors for 10, 20 years. Like, they don't remember.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Dude, do it super early, too. I did it, like, in September. And I thought I was early. Turns out I was, like, 5 months late. So do it super early. Go really, really early. And your life is going to be way easier. And then, just like she was saying, it's going to be okay. If you get waitlisted at your first interview, it's not the end of the world. Like, you won't, it doesn't mean you're not going to go to medical school. Yeah?
Something that worked out really well for me is that I was actually going to apply to med school a year earlier than I ended up applying to med school, so I just randomly happened to start the application. So I ended up looking at the entire application a year before I actually decided to submit. And that was super good because I learned what the application looks like. So the prompt for med school is always the same. It's why do you want to go to med school? So you look up and see how many like characters you have or words you have to use. You see, okay, I can list up to 15 extracurriculars that I have. So you start thinking about, okay, what are some of the awards I've gotten? What are some of my honors? What are some of my like clubs that I'm involved with, or I play the piano, or I do this and that, so that you can start thinking about what you want to put in. And you realize, okay, in addition to having to write descriptions for those activities, I can also pick my top 3 favorites and have more things to write about for them. And so you start thinking in advance about what you want to put into your application. So I highly suggest, I said the year before to do it, but like you can do it anytime. You just make up a MCAS account, which you'll all need to do eventually anyway. So pick a username that you want to stick with.
Pick a professional username too. Make it your first and your last day, and then make your birthday if there's that. Just don't make anything stupid. Don't do anything like
yeah, because it's going to stick with you. So
yeah,
just keep that in mind and look at it so you know what to expect. You can start thinking about it in advance.
That's real smart. Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah, and I would say give yourself time, because there's a lot of things that you can figure out in your mind, like in your subconscious, when you're not actively sitting there. If you try to like sit and write your personal statement in a week in a very focused way, you're gonna have writer's block, like inevitably. So give yourself time, and with that, like in general, the whole application process, I would say, is like your mentality greatly affects the way that you write and present yourself. Like try to not treat the application process like a chore. Try to treat it like this is my opportunity to show people what's so unique about me. So don't think of it as like, oh, I gotta go and I gotta write this essay. Think about it like, okay, well now I had this chance to like really push myself to like reflect on myself and on my life, on my passion. And like it's a chance to sit there and think, do I really want to do this? And as you do that, you all of a sudden have an essay that you can write about. Same thing for interviews. Like I got myself psyched up to think like, oh, okay, it's not like, oh, I have to take off work and go up to interviews. I thought of it as, wow, I get to go and like fly to Boston. I've never been to Boston before. That's cool. Like think about it in a positive way, that it's an opportunity for yourself that most people don't get.
Look good, feel good, do great too.
Yeah.
Dress nice, feel good.
Like get it's like a really good haircut and go to your interview, and you will glow when you're there.
Slide today.
I also vacationed everywhere that I got an interview at.
Yeah.
So I totally, I had a year off, so I was like, why not?
Yeah.
If I'm going to spend $500 going to the East Coast and another like $200 on my hotel, then I might as well spend a few more hundred while I'm at it and enjoy it, right? Because I'm gonna live there for at least the next 4 years, so I might as well get to know if I like the city or not. And that was a great decision, because one of the places I interviewed at was Boston. What is it called? There's a university that has a med school. Anyway, one of those in Boston.
Boston's fun.
It was great. I thought Boston was super safe and cool. First day I got there, and the night before my interview, I wanted to go find where my interview room was. And I started walking from my hotel that was really close to the campus, or to the med school. There was a lot of homeless people around, and it was kind of sketchy. And then a police officer stopped me and was like, where are you going? And I was like, well, I'm looking for my interview room for tomorrow. And he's like, if it's not urgent, I suggest you go home. Like, he's telling me it's not safe to be out here by myself. So I took his advice. I went home, and I was like, okay, I don't really feel that safe here. That's a good thing to know. I'm glad I came here and I saw that. So you never know.
Don't stay in a hostel too. Stay in a hotel.
Totally stayed in hotels.
Oh my god, yeah, don't stay in a hostel. It's the worst thing you can do. Super messy.
Or stay with the student if they have that kind
or
of
stay
program.
It's way cheaper.
Yeah.
It's way cheaper, and it's so nice to like get it directly from the person who's hosting you. You can tell if they really like it or not.
Student stops you in the house like, don't come here. Then you should go.
That actually happened where students were not happy, and they made it very clear that they were not happy. And I was actually surprised, but it was really good because they're pretty honest.
Students will be honest with you. The ones giving you a tour, maybe not, but because they obviously love the school. They should, and that's their honesty. But if you get a chance, just look around you, see if the students look happy or if they look kind of worried and stuff. That's always a good indicator.
Yeah.
Just go to a place that you feel good about. Rank matters. Obviously, if you get like a place that's in the top 20 versus like the top 50, that's nice. But if anywhere it's like within like 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, go to a place that feels good. Go to a place you feel comfortable, and go to a place that you think you'd be happy. It's 4 years. It's 4 long years. It's 4 hard years. Don't go somewhere just because it's got get some magazine ranked at like 3 numbers out of some other place. I want to tell you everything, but you can't talk. You gotta figure these things out.
UCSD is a really great school.
It is.
They really take care of you here, aside from academics. So socially, they plan events for us. They pay for things like we're going to a brewery, or we want to go bowling, or if we want to do something, they make it happen.
It's nice. It's a very supportive place.
Yeah.
They sent out emails for us when we took our step. So you and the people that work downstairs send emails saying, you're going to do great. That's a nice feeling. You guys remembered. You guys took the time to note down what day we're doing our test. Little things like that.
Right in the first years, wrote you guys little
Oh, they're on
good
the
luck
cards.
cards.
This is the bag that my good luck card came in. It's the only thing I'll
Came
say.
in handy.
The only
Look at
brown,
that.
only brown bag I have. But yeah, they wrote little notes, and you make little goodie bags for the second years. Yeah. So I like it. It's nice. It's nice.
Do you guys have any other
Hey,
questions?
Dr. Austin. You walked by. Just coming back. Hey, what's up? Hey, I took my step. I'm done.
Oh, good.
I'll see you. Yeah, I think I might be. I don't know what my ambulatory is, but it might be cardio. So I might see you at the VA. He's my palm. He's my palm guy. One of our small groups. He's one of my guys.
Any other questions for us?
I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, thank you guys for coming out and thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Good
You
luck,
guys
guys.
Appreciate it.
Relax, man.